So today we're going to be talking about what really works, and in terms of training, recovery, different mental things, and it's going to give people a really good idea of where to put their time and effort, and where they're going to get the most value. And I think the best way we've kind of looked at it is by putting things in percenter terms. So how much percent something
adds up to
Yeah,
in terms of your training and everything. So really we've put a sheet out where we've got a list of all these different training methods and recovery methods, and each of them have a certain percenter, and that can add up to 100%, or for even elites. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so for elite athletes, obviously they have a little bit more time to train and recover and do all those things, and we're well aware of that. So we've kind of done the sheet where it roughly adds up to 100% of what most people can do. But if you go to our website, there's a blog about percenters, and at the bottom of that you can actually download this sheet. The download link will also be in the notes in the podcast, and it'll also be in our weekly newsletter. So you can kind of play along at home with what we're going to do, because what we're going to do is actually run down each percenter that we have and how that and why it's important to us. And it's different because, like you've said before, like everyone's different and does things a bit differently.
Well, even it's different for both people. So you might be training for something different and I might be training for something different. But if you put a percentage sheet together, it doesn't have to stay the same, because for me, I might be training for speed as fast 5K, and that might have different percentages in there, like interval training. Whereas I might be racing a really hilly endurance race, and that might incorporate other percentages that might change from the speedier ones.
Yeah, and then even in recovery, you might even take this percentage sheet and go,
oh yeah,
tapering.
I'll
I have to focus on good nutrition, good sleep, massage, a little bit less of other things, and it's actually a really good guide so that you fill in this percentage sheet. Just say you're tapering, and you say to yourself, all right, for this taper, these are the things I'm going to do, and you stick it up, and then every time you walk past it, you can actually see, am I sleeping 8 hours? Am I eating the right things?
You keep yourself accountable. And for those who might be a little bit confused on some of the methods that are listed, there are actually explanations for them.
Yeah, so it's a little 4-sheet PDF that we've put together, and on the first one, you'll find the headings: training, recovery, technique, strategy and gear, and mental. And each one of those things will have like a little percenter. So it might be, say for instance here, I've got sleep. 8 hours sleep is about 30%. So that's a pretty heavy hitter as well. So, and then on the second page, you can kind of fill in where it is, have a total, and then on the last 2 pages, it actually describes each percenter. So something like, say posture and how that helps you with your form and things like that. So so we're going to kind of run through all those things, but like you said about elites and stuff like that, it's not this can be used for someone just starting out and also for an elite person. But I just want to kind of reiterate like the importance of the simple things. Often people go into training and they'll look at what someone else is doing and think, oh, I have to do all these, these big things. I've got to do ice baths. I've got to do all these, really hard things. But often what you find when you're looking at an elite athlete, they're trying to chase that edge, and they're trying to chase that final 5% to become better because they've nailed down everything else. So I think for the majority of people, it's more important to do the simple things right.
I had a similar kind of situation that I got wrapped up in when I had just come off of win last year at Rock Around the Clock 50K, and I was looking to level up my game. I'm like, okay, what are all these things that I can do to really level up my game? I want to be the best. I want to keep winning. And I went straight into kind of the David Roach area where I wanted to develop more speed. And there were other side things like high carb, bicarb, and I kind of got you were there. And
oh no, you were bringing them all to my attention, and I'm like, okay, bicarb. Like I'm pretty sure I clean things with that stuff.
Yeah, so I got kind of trapped all in the sciencey kind of things of it, and what I've found is that I wasn't actually hitting my sessions because I was too busy focusing on getting 100 grams of carbs an hour. So there was one specific run where Dad was like, maybe you should just stick to running instead of focusing on all the what you're consuming during it. And there was one run where it was completely, I didn't need the amount of fuel that I'd taken on board. And that would lead to other issues that I won't get into, like gut issues. But it was a specific interval session where it was only like 15 Ks and I was taking 100 grams of carbs, and it would have taken me at least an hour and a half max. And I just don't think that I need to put that into my body for that because it's just unrealistic.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, I've found over my whole journey, I have tried so many things. I've tried turmeric powders for anti-inflammatory. I've tried pea protein, which tastes like absolute crap, right? I've been vegan. I've been vegetarian. I've tried so many different things to chase that edge and to see what really works and what doesn't work. But what I've found at the foundations of all of it has been just sleep, consistency. Those things are such huge things, and they're so easy to do, but we get wrapped up in what we see. We see Joe Rogan doing ice baths and then jumping into a sauna, and there is no doubt, like when I was having cold showers, I was feeling amazing in the morning. I really was, and I think that there is a lot of benefit for that to that, but you don't need to suffer to feel good. You can actually go to bed half hour to an hour earlier and you wake up in the morning feeling amazing. So a lot of people are finding that it's hard to recover and it's hard to do these things, but if you're only chasing like a 1% gain or a 2% gain, there's so many other ways to do it easier.
Well, adding on to that is, for months I was so fixated on this one note: high carb, high carb, high carb, high carb, and that it was going to make me the best runner ever. And you would constantly kind of push me in the direction, no, you need to do the training, you just eat proper nutrition, take the 50 grams of carbs now. And I actually looked into something, and Courtney Dauwalter does a female ultra runner, does it completely different. And she actually doesn't have as many carbs per hour, but she's still this incredible athlete. And it changes for different people, and you kind of just got to find what works for you. And because there was so many studies coming in as, it's high carb, 100 plus grams of carbs per hour is going to make you this great athlete, you can push faster. It really doesn't for some athletes.
Yeah, and I think that like if you get 75% of it right, then you're at a point where you can kind of start exploring from there. Like for me, I love my massage gun, and on our percentage sheet, I think our massage gun's like 2%. But to me, it feels like a 10 or 15% gain
because that's where placebo effect can kind of come into it, because it feels good. It feels like you can't live without it in a way, but I feel like they might represent as 2%ers and 3%ers or 1%ers, but placebo effect can probably boost that up a little bit.
Yeah, and everyone's bodies are different as well. So you might be more prone to get tighten up and things like that, especially early on when you first start out. I remember first starting out running, and I would, on my Run Keeper app, I would actually write down everything that was wrong. So I'd go for a run, it'd be like a 5K run, and I'd be like, sore knee, about 8 out of 10, not feeling great. And then the next day I go, right ankle, pain, 2 out of 10. Like I would analyze it so much, and that's the thing. Like everyone's different. You have these little niggles and pains, and you try and treat them the best way you can. And there is no, one size fits all approach. But having something like this sheet and writing things down, it allows you to see where you're at. And, even going back, if you go back to a month prior or your last taper, and you hit your race and you say to yourself, you know what, I did really well at that race. What did I do? And then you get your little sheet out, and then you can have a look. And it's, it's really, really helpful. So,
well, I think it's also really cool because it allows the person to really think about what they're doing with their time. Because a lot of the time is, for us, most of the time this will go above 100%. And that's where we have to look at other things in our life where we have to make the sacrifice. So for you, maybe a little bit less sleep. And it kind of really gets you thinking about what you could do and what you can sacrifice, because the elites do have to sacrifice to be great. And I think that that's really important. To,
Yeah, I think the elites on in their favour though they don't have to work 8
yeah, that
hours a
is
day.
true. Well,
8
their
hours a
work
day.
is doing this.
Yeah, so I mean that's why. And then when you look at what they're doing, you can kind of get sucked in a little bit because
Oh,
you
of
try
course.
and do
I
everything.
get sucked
And
in.
like you said,
Yeah.
like with the high carb, and there's nothing wrong with trying different things, but I think it's important to understand where you're at. Like if you've got a 9 to 5 job and you're just trying to, train for a half marathon, there's only so many things that you can do.
Well, don't get me wrong. It's not that high carb's a bad thing. It's just it didn't work for me,
Yep.
and it might not work for other people. So, but it can work for other people. So
Yep.
it's not that it's high carb that is a bad thing. It's more of that the individual, and again, it comes back to what you value and how that affects them. And if it affects me negatively, then I may as well focus on the other big percentages like nutrition, proper nutrition throughout the day to keep me fueled.
But that's a trial and error, and like you have those pillars of what makes you a good athlete and a good runner, and if you find yourself lost, because I think that at one point you actually found yourself a little bit lost because you were trying so many different.
I was lost in myself. I remember what I usually do is that I go out for one just long trail run because that's where I want to get back to the crux of why I started running, and I'm just out there, no music, and I just need to reset, and I had to reflect on, let's just go back to the basics. Let's just run. No nutrition, nothing. Just run and hit the sessions because at the end of the day, consistency is another one that we have on there. Consistency is really important to hit your sessions right and not letting other issues affect that. Because that's what would often happen with high carb and bicarb.
Yeah, so you're trying so many different things, and trial and error is an important part of becoming a better runner, better person in general. You try something and then you find, okay, that didn't work, now I'll pivot and then learn from that. But it's important to continually learn from those things that you tried and not keep banging your head up against those same walls.
Well, and it's also, again, it's not to say that it won't ever work for me, high carb or bicarb. It's because I haven't mastered the big percenters now. These athletes like David Roach and Killian Jornet, they've mastered those big percenters. And again, like what you said before, they're looking for that edge. And that edge is the high carb, the bicarb.
But it's also fads. Like those things become fads. I'm not saying, I'm sure there's a heap of science behind the, having a lot of carbs. And for anyone that's kind of just starting out, what we're talking about in terms of high carb is the amount of carbs that you're taking in an hour. So some people can, have 40 or 50 grams
and carbs
of
give you
carbs.
energy to be able to run.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. So it's like an energy in, energy out. But some people believe that you can take on more, and some athletes who train with all this stuff, they become more efficient and they can do it. But some people start to experience gut problems and things
Which
like
is
that
what I
because the
experience.
easiest source of carbs is sugar. So yeah. But I mean, we'll probably go into that kind of race day nutrition and stuff in another episode. But how about we have a look at our percentage sheets and see? We haven't seen each other's, so it'll be interesting to see how we kind of.
Really quickly.
Yeah, we'll just grab them. All right. So what do you reckon? What were your?
So do you want to go just kind of big percenters first, or?
Yeah, I reckon we'll work our way down because I actually have a couple different, and there's a couple like honourable mentions for things that I think are really important that I haven't got on here because it's more based around how we spoke about in a recovery phase or in a taper phase or in a base building phase. So I think for the average runner, I think the most important thing is we'll actually talk about the 4 or 5 things that are the most important when you're starting out to make sure that you can hit your sessions, that you're feeling strong, you're feeling rested, and you're feeling motivated. Because what happens is these big percenters, especially sleep, it can affect you a hell of a lot when it comes to having enough motivation in the morning to get up and run. If you go to bed an hour earlier and you get that little bit of extra sleep, you're more likely to get up in the morning and not feel like you need David Goggins ringing in your ears telling you to get up. So we've mentioned that about a GV when you had that as your alarm. But some people really do need that kind of get out of bed. But if you went to bed half an hour earlier, it'd be a lot easier.
I know it kind of sounds quite obvious. It's like, oh, if you go to bed early, you'll have more energy the next day. But really, it is taken for granted a little bit. Even I took it for granted where I would get up in the morning and ride the bike, at the indoor bike, and I just feel so tired. And you'd be like, okay, just get at least 1 hour extra sleep. And one night, I was just really tired that whole day. And one night I just went to bed at 8 o'clock, woke up at 6, still woke up fairly early and rode the bike. But I just had this complete change in mood. And that's not one thing that sleep provides. It can help with recovery and repair with your muscles is the number one hitter for recovery.
Oh, and I read this book by Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep, and he spoke about sleep being like the most crucial thing for when it comes to your body being repaired and things like that. So I guess on our percentage sheet, I've got, for me at the moment, I'm probably sleeping about 6 hours a night.
And people, that's probably not the greatest.
No, I wouldn't recommend. I would recommend more than that. But yeah, it's just the way how busy life is at the moment. So I'm getting 6 hours sleep, and I've got that down as like a 10%er.
Okay.
So what have you got?
That clearly makes some room for other things, which is
it does make room for other things, but
then again, you got the podcast. That's another sacrifice. So that probably adds the percentage on in a way. So less time. But for me, I have 8 hours of sleep because I think that's really important for a young body to be able to develop and grow. And that's a 30% for me. That's a really big.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
All right. So nutrition. So in terms of nutrition, we've got so that's a 20%er. And Ollie, why is that important for us?
Well, for me, I actually, because you can't run 24/7 hours of the day, and I kind of take it in a way where it's like a game to me. So, and it makes you feel good when you're eating. Do you feel good if you're eating proper food?
Oh, if you're fueling yourself, I feel amazing.
I feel incredible, and that is one thing that I think people really need to do more often. Because don't get me wrong, people have a few snacks here and there, a few treats here and there.
Oh yeah, I like my ice cream.
I sometimes go into the fridge or freezer and sneak a couple scoops in.
Yeah, well, when I normally go to the freezer, you've eaten all the ice cream, and I'm usually.
But then again, like
my mental preparedness for me cracking it kind of comes in.
Well, it comes down to like fuel the work that you're putting in, and sometimes you just need ice cream for some energy. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're doing the work. It's more so when
I like, you know what I like? I like when the Courtney Delwater approach,
Yeah.
And trail runners seem to, be
beers and nachos.
Yeah, beers and nachos and things like that. And you know what that helps with? Like, so it's important to dial in your nutrition, but it's also important for your own mental state to kind of treat yourself as well. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself. It
can become so creative. Like, it doesn't have to be this boring thing. You can. People think healthy is all boring, but you can make healthy exciting and actually
and taste good too.
Taste good.
Yeah, I found when I really pushed to the limits of my training, when I've got a big event coming up, I tend to dial in a hell of a lot of things, but nutrition, you need to. You actually find what you can get away with and what you can't because you're pushing on that edge. But nutrition, at those points, you dial it in. But then, you know what? When you're in a building phase or a recovery phase, like I often have, like when I was working with Gabby Villa,
she's a nutritionist.
She's a nutritionist, and her thing with recovery nutrition was just to eat. Just to eat what you feel like. Your body needs to be replenished, and plenty of fats and proteins, and it's all about just having a balanced diet.
Well, I actually have a little bit of an insight later on, but I'll get into it. And it kind of does talk about eating and that balance, finding that balance. But I'd actually be interested to ask you is that when you were doing your 200K weeks or your 42 marathons a day for 5 days, was it?
I did. Yeah,
4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
I think on the last day it was a bit windy and
so I didn't. Yeah, I didn't finish that off. Yeah,
that's all right. You probably will do one sometime this year for your training. But I'd be interested. What was your nutrition like? Because 42 Ks a day is
Yeah, I was eating a
of
lot.
energy
I
burning.
felt like it was an eating competition,
Yeah.
and just to get the energy back in. But I didn't have any time. And you know how we spoke about sacrifices to fit the percenters in. This is this is what happened. Like, I had very little time to do anything but run or eat, and I was massaging my legs every single day, and I was sleeping 8 to 9 hours a day.
You had to.
I had to, just to recover. So they're the sacrifices that you make, but that's not all the time. That was a 2 or 3 week training block before an event, and that was it.
I think also with nutrition is what Gabby Villa kind of taught us was there's 3 primary kind of food categories that you need to get around, and it's carbs, so carbohydrates, protein, and fats. And if you can get those 3 in one meal, you're good.
Yeah, and you know what? You feel satisfied. I often talk about when
You
we
feel
talk.
replenished. You feel full.
Yeah, I often, anytime I have a look at something that I'm eating, if it has those 3 things in a balanced portion, I'm good for a few hours. But anytime I only have one, say I have a heap of chips,
Yeah.
and don't have anything else with it,
So the snacks are a little bit dangerous. They don't.
Yeah,
really
because
fill you.
they're hit and miss, and they don't. So that's kind of nutrition. So nutrition's a real big one. It's about 20% of. I've got it as a 20%er. What about yourself?
So I have it for a 20% too.
Yep. All right. So next on here, I actually have another big one for me was strength training. We spoke about it last week. So it's a 15%er, and again, these things are simple. Like when you hear us talk about when we get to the nitty gritty of the smaller percenters, you've gone and done 30% on sleep, 20% on nutrition, and you've got strength training too, which is 15%. That's
I
like
want to pick you up on that.
That's 55%.
I don't have strength training as a whole, 15%, because again, this comes down to how people value it, and it can be different for people. And I actually have it in the category of cross training, because again, that's where I find the time to put it in, because I just categorize my running and cross training, and strength training and cycling is in that. And
so that's what you put. So you put your cross training and strength training is the same thing.
Well, yeah, because cross training is anything that supports your primary sport, like running, and that kind of complements the muscles. And I think that strength training falls into that category.
Yeah,
but again, if you really, really value strength training and you do it like it's not cross training, then it can be a completely
well, I don't do
different
any cross training.
I
tend to do cross training when I've got a niggle or anything like that. But I mean, recently that the strength training for me has been a huge one. So that's I'm at 15% on that one.
And we've been through this before. You probably haven't done it in the past, and it's good that it's been. Have you seen any like changes?
Heaps of changes. I feel fitter. I look fitter, and I actually didn't think that it would make as big a difference physically how I look to, than in the past. I would. Normally I would just run and do the occasional strength work and stuff like that. But I'm actually not doing hours and hours of strength work. I'm probably doing 2 to 3 sessions a week, and it seems to be enough. And I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling stronger when I'm running and yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing is, so to put a little bit of context behind it, I haven't done any hills at all, and there's been probably 2 major examples where it's like, why can I run hills when I haven't been doing any hills? And one of them was at the Megasaur kind of, what do you call it?
It was a fat ass event.
Fat ass event, that's it. And that had over 2,500 meters gain over 28 Ks, I think.
Yeah.
And that's incredible
So
gradient.
yeah, so that's an average of 10%.
Yeah. And I was able to run them fine. Obviously, you saw at the end. But a more kind of stronger example was the other week I went out to Purtisat Road, a local hill that we have, and it's about 10% grade all the way up, and it's 1.1 Ks. And me and Dad kind of have a little bit of a competition on that because you got Striver crowns. And for a year, Dad has had this crown, but previously I had the crown, and after 2 days, he went out there and got it off of me. So it was a little bit frustrating. And for a year, I haven't really been back out there because I actually went up it for my 100th time. Anyway, that's not part of the story. A little bit sidetracked there. And what happened was I actually went up that hill, got the crown, came back down, and for the next 4 repeats, I bet your previous crown 5 times.
Yeah.
And I just think that has so much to say. It's like, where's this hill endurance
So
strength coming from?
so
And it's a strength training probably.
yeah. So the thing that so you hadn't done really any hill work whatsoever, and then you went out, and I remember when I set that crown. It was part of a run that I was doing, but I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to try and give it my best, and I gave it my best. And then, when I seen that you took the crown, I'm like, oh yeah, of course he's going to take it. He's he's strong. He's just turned up to the bottom of the hill and taken it. But then for you to take it 5 times and in 5 repeats, it was just amazing. But that's just a testament to strength work, isn't it?
It's funny that you had a look at my run. It's like, oh yeah, you got the crown, and then later you're like, oh. You're talking to Joe, and he's like, "You bet it 5 times in a row."
Yeah. So, and that, I mean, if that's not a perfect example of why you should be doing strength work, so yeah. So what? Okay, so let's move down the sheet. What else have you got on yours?
So super really big thing is consistency for me, and I have that as a 20%er.
Okay.
And do you have consistency on your list?
I'll talk about consistency at the end.
At the end, okay.
All right, for me, but you've got consistency. Being consistent is really important. Yeah.
I just think it's important to acknowledge that there are so many highs, but there's also so many lows, and I often think when I'm in a high, I'm like, okay. Well,
but what do you mean by high?
So when you've had a really good run and you've had a couple good backed up runs, and you just get your confidence up, you get your back up a little bit, and I often think when I'm in the shower, it's a shower thought. I'm like, I'm at a really big high right now, but I know there's going to be a low. And when there's a low, I find it really hard to be able to see, okay, well, I'm going to pick back up soon, like, because there's going to be good runs. And I think it's just really important for when you're in that low to acknowledge that you kind of got to do vice versa. So like what you do when you're in the highs, you acknowledge there's the lows, and when you're in the lows, you acknowledge the highs.
But you also got
it's all a process.
I 100% agree with you. Like, there's so many highs and lows with running, but I often say this to people that have had are not doing as well as what they'd like to in training or whatever it may be. I always say to them, you're only one run away from feeling amazing. And people often go, oh no, you know how many races I've gone into, and I've 3 or 4 weeks out, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to finish this race. I'm actually, my training hasn't been great. Things haven't worked out, and I go out and it might be like a 15 or 20k run, and then I go from going, I'm not going to finish this race, to ringing your mum and going, I'm going to win this race. And how in an hour and a half or 2 hours can your mindset change from I'm not going to finish to I'm going to win? It's crazy, but that's just what happens. So you've got to almost stick with the process and understand that you'll get through it.
I had a really, really rough run yesterday, and I've been training for a 5K, and I really had set myself some high expectations for what I wanted to do yesterday, and I really just completely missed the mark yesterday, and I got really down on myself. And obviously we went for a cool down jog. I felt a little bit better. And when I was in the car, I'm thinking, right, I could be however many years old, and I could be so far behind of what is expected of an elite athlete to be able to run a 5K time in. And all it takes is the next day, and then I'm amongst them. One run. And it's so hard because I want to describe it in words, but I can't.
Yeah, it's like just unlocking. Well, I spoke to you about it's like unlocking the door. It's so I'll turn up.
Dad was only 15 seconds behind me. It's like what say what?
Yeah, so pretty much like I tend to be a little bit more relaxed nowadays. Like I'm a little bit more experienced. So for me, it's like walking up to a door and looking at it and going and shuffling through my keys and going, all right, I'll just open it with this key, and then I just walk through. And then you get up to that exact same door and you're trying to belt the crap out of the door with a sledgehammer.
Trying to force it.
That's the only way. I have to force this door down. But that's not what works. What works is actually, being able to reflect, understanding the process, saying to yourself, today's not my day, but I'm only one run away from feeling amazing again.
Well, what I had said after you from that run, it's like I don't want to do the event that I'm gonna do. I won't reveal it. I don't want to do that. I just want to get this right now. I'm not gonna do the event that I want to do at all.
But then in saying
and that kind of said a lot. It's like, are you just forcing this?
Yeah, 100%.
So it's important again not to force things.
Yeah.
In terms of consistency, because there's always a process.
Yep. So next up, I've got long runs, and they're 15%.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if you did this, but I actually stacked my percenters. So I think that a lot of people can get 2 or 3 of them done, and they'll actually they'll be able to go over 100%. So for me, my long runs tend to be trail runs. And on those trail runs, I tend to do some goal setting. So I took the highest percenter, which was the long run, which was 15%, and I added it to my total. But as a bonus, I took the 10% for the trail run, and I took the 5% for the goal setting. So on one run, instead of it being 30%, it's only actually 15% because I did 3 things.
You do them all in one.
Because you do them all at once.
That's something a key takeaway from this actually, because for people who are listening, you can add things onto each other.
Well, because we're all pretty time poor. I'm time poor. I got to work. We got a family.
You got to adjust.
Yeah, we run, we train. You got to adjust. You got to try and find those percenters where you can. And as we work through the sheet, I've done that on a few occasions. So that's one occasion I've done it, but I've also done it on my hill repeats, because on hill repeats they tend to get really, really hard. So I'll do some positive self-talk, which is a 4%er. Okay. So the hill repeats is a 10, and so that's another boost. So yeah, how are you?
Well, see, for me, I didn't have any of the mental kind of methods on my percentage picks.
Do you think that you'll add them now,
knowing that you had done that, I probably might.
But that's the difference. Yeah, that's the difference. You wait until you see my total.
That's the difference between my thinking and Dad's.
Yeah,
thinking,
but that's where we spoke about experience.
But in saying that, after my experience yesterday, my picks are going to change so much, because this is my picks from developing my speed, and it's going to change obviously because I have a different event training but because I've just unlocked these new. What do I say? Insights in my brain. I'm like, I need the mental stuff. Like, I need the meditation. I tried a little bit of meditation last night. I'm like, that actually was really nice before bed.
Well, you asked me about meditation, and we actually spoke to one athlete that I spoke to, which is an insight for today, and how he uses meditation, and he. And then I was describing it to you because you were like, what is it? So with meditation, it's all obviously personal to everyone, but it's all about trying to calm the mind and be in the moment.
Yeah.
And if you can do that more often, and it's like anything, like it's almost like training. So the more you train something, the more you're able to you perform it on race day. So with meditation it's all about being in the moment and being present and controlling your breathing and all those kinds of things. So if you can do that, you practice that, then you get into a race day situation or an event situation, and you start to stress and you start to overthink something, you might be able to kind of bring yourself back and go, no, I'm okay. I'm in the moment. I chose this. I'm breathing. I feel great.
I think that was awesome how you worded that, and I really want to add on to that. I had a thought last night, because what I do personally is I like to listen to noises, and I like to really listen to them, but not describe them or describe who's making those noises. So it might be people talking, or it might be a person I know who's talking, and I'll just listen to them, but not describe who they are or how they're talking.
Well, the description is your mind thinking about it.
Yeah, so and that's what you want to clear. You want to clear. And I was trying to think of a way how that can be applied to running. And when I'm in the hurt locker at an event, I have all these feelings and emotions, and I can bring myself back to that moment where I was meditating and acknowledge what all this is feeling, but not describe it as hard.
Yeah.
So it can just be there, like what voices and sounds are just being there when I'm meditating. And that's because I was really confused. I'm like, how can meditating help you in running? And I just thought of that. I'm like, that just makes so much sense.
It does. That's actually a
Anyway,
good way to do it.
so meditation was not on my thing, but
Yeah, no, meditation's not on my thing. I think I'm going to put it on. I think meditation's going to definitely go back on there. I have practiced meditation on many occasions where I would meditate for 10, 15 minutes every morning. Outside, and it was great. I actually don't know why I don't do it, and I think I'm going to have to add it. I did have 7% left over, but I think meditation. I think it was 8%.
Oh no!
So I didn't.
He's gonna have to make time for 1%.
Oh no, meditation's 3%.
Oh, that's awesome. We might actually have to bump that up a little bit.
I'll add it to the thing.
That's okay.
All right. So
I had interval training as 15%. Because that was really big. That kind of develops the speed and everything. And I think it's also important for older people, even though you might not do interval training as much. There was a David Roach theory where he thought that if you do interval training as you're getting older, you're not really declining in a way. You're kind of maintaining, and if not going up. And it makes you become more efficient and build your VO2 max and build your speed. And I think for young people as well, that really helps out. So I had that as a 15%. Tempo runs, super important for me because they're the runs I look back on when I'm in an event. I'm like, I crushed that. And that they were hard. Like, they're really hard for me. And it's just really, those runs are really a confidence booster. And that's what I'll look for in an event. So I had that as 12%. And then easy runs are really good because on days they kind of give you a break. Because I remember
they give you a good mental break as well.
Mental break, yes, that's what I was looking for. And I remember doing my own kind of training plan, and what I was going to do was hard days. Hit the mic. I keep hitting the mic. I'm too busy explaining with my hands. Hard days and two easy bike rides in between. But there was no easy runs, and it just kind of it gives me time to reflect on my easy runs, and especially on long easy runs. And if you don't have that, I felt I was really burnt out, and I was burnt out.
But what I find with easy runs as well is it gives you an opportunity to enjoy the body that you've created. So yes. I often find that, and I'll explain this to a lot of people, people tend to run at the same pace all the time. And that's not a good thing to be doing all the time because you actually don't have a spectrum of what's easy and what's hard. And even if it's only the last 500 meters of a run, just push hard. Like, and I'm not talking about, sprinting as hard as you can, but just push that little bit harder. And so that you can say to yourself, ooh, that felt hard.
A little bit of an effort.
So I know what it feels like. And you actually, you'll enjoy that effort and how it feels. But two, you'll actually get a nice broad spectrum of what easy feels like and what hard feels like. So then when you do go out, you can say to yourself, I'm going out for an easy run because I need to clear my mind and I want to, see how that kind of feels and where my fitness is at. But then you can push it on the next session. You go, right, enough of the easy stuff. Now it's something harder.
Well, you were explaining this the other day and I had to add on where it was, I find that a lot of kids at school, I just say, oh, yeah, I went out for an easy 14K. And a lot of people probably might look at that and go, they look at the distance and how hard it is. But because they don't have that concept of what running fast is hard and what running slow is easy, they don't build that connection.
Well, if everything's hard, because the only thing you only go at one pace, then it's always going to be hard. You need to create that spectrum. When you're first starting out, it's almost impossible to do. I remember when I first started out, every time I went out the door, it was hard. Yeah. I had always had something to complain about, and it wasn't nice. But I'd slowly developed the ability to change my sessions. Just even Googling, particular sessions, whether it's a fartlek session or an interval session, like we've mentioned today, a hill session. You go up and down. You run up a hill. And then go run on a flat surface, and then you tell me which one's more difficult. So you just create that nice broad spectrum.
And it also links back to experience as well, because for you've experienced so much more hurt in races, and even at Down Under, running on a torn plantar. I've never experienced something like that, and that's how you can probably develop that that understanding from easy to hard as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So I also had easy runs, but if anyone that follows me on Strava, they'll see that it's quite often I'll have focus on form as my description.
As well, on your easy runs, sometimes it gets a little bit carried away because when we'll go out, we go, oh yeah, we'll go easy 5:30 pace, and then next minute we're coming back at 5 minutes.
Well, I don't get to run with too many people all that often, so then when I do go out, I just kind of go to feeling it.
I'm sorry, I cut you.
If it feels down, but yeah, no. So I go out for an easy run, and it's on Strava. It might be like focus on form. So I've stacked my percentage here as well. So I've gone an easy run with some posture, some stride, and some stride length to it. So with your stride length, it's got to do with your cadence, and I often tell people that there's two things with cadence for me, and that is your to kind of try and stay around. If you're an average height person, about 180 steps a minute, which is, it improves your form, it improves your efficiency, and you find that you're not overstriding, because anyone that's overstriding, your energy return is not as good. So you'll stride out, and then you're almost pushing yourself back, if that kind of makes sense. So you're pushing yourself back, so that energy is not as efficient. So it's really important to, if you up your cadence, and most smartwatches will help you with that, you'll find that at the start, just take it easy at the start, because increasing your cadence can hurt your calves a little bit, because you're working a little bit. You're turning the legs over a bit faster.
Because you're putting your legs through a different stimulus.
Yeah, that's right. So it's something that you've got to get used to. When I first started, when someone said to me, Tim, increase your cadence, I would run a kilometre at my normal, however it felt, natural, and then I would run 500 metres to a kilometre at that increased cadence, which sometimes is a shorter stride.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, oh, geez, this actually hurts. Like my calves were starting to hurt post the run, but I got used to it, and it worked really well. So that's in one situation. But in the other situation is running up hills. So what I find is people tend to run up a hill and they want to get up there as fast as possible, right? So they're taking big, long strides. But what you find is when you're taking big, long strides, you're moving uphill faster. Like you're moving, elevation's getting more in every step. If you shorten your stride, you're taking smaller steps and taking littler bites up that hill. Okay, so I've got massage on mine. That's important for me. That's a 5%er, because. Yeah, and massage gun as well. So obviously I'm a little bit older, so I tighten up. My muscles don't relax as much, and probably because I don't get as much sleep, my body doesn't relax as much.
Yeah, well, I have a couple small ones in the end too. Just two more. I have supplements, which is almost me finding the edge. So it's not making huge gains, but it might make minimal gains to my recovery, and that's just that edge again.
Yeah, because you do all those big things right, you find that. Those other little things you do start studying. Like, I mean, in terms of supplements, it might be magnesium, it might be some fish oil and stuff.
System's really big.
Yeah,
for supplements.
I mean, we're not telling people what they should and shouldn't take, but these are the things that we have found. We've found that work, like protein powders and things like that in terms of supplements.
And then lastly, I had heat training, which I've only really just discovered. And what happens is that when you do heat training, your blood actually gets thinner, so it's more efficient for your heart to pump. So if your blood is thicker, it's harder to pump around the body to the muscles that require the oxygen. And all whilst that is happening, red blood cells are developing more and growing more in your bloodstream. And red blood cells carry oxygen from a protein attached to it called hemoglobin. I won't go into the nitty-gritty of it, and that also helps with more efficiency to oxygen delivery to your muscles, which your muscles need oxygen to develop more energy.
Yep. Oh, that's cool. All right. So I'll wrap up my percentage sheet, and we spoke about you had consistency on yours.
Oh, yes.
So I actually looked at consistency as a freebie, because I figure if I do all those things, then I'm already being consistent. So I don't need to focus on consistency, because it's just a freebie. So
yeah, so it does depend on the person.
Yeah, that's right. So,
So if you're really
if-
starting out first, then
Yeah, if you-
consistency will be.
yeah, so you need to, because you're inconsistent, so you need to focus on
Yeah.
consistency. Whereas consistency is just a byproduct of everything that I do.
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good thought.
Yeah, so mine added up to 93%, plus the meditation I'm going to add in would be 96. And so the freebie percentage that I had was 49%. So I rounded it out about 142%. So how did you go? Did you get to 142%?
No, I actually got to 123%.
Oh, did you? That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I might adjust it, obviously, after this for just my personal use and,
Yeah,
and see
but
where we go.
Yeah, so I think that, if you go to our website, to our blog, you can download the sheet. You can have a look yourself. You can play around with it, use it, and it's also in the podcast notes and our newsletter. But yeah, so play around with it. Have a look at what we thought all the percentages were. Actually, comment and let us know.
If you think something should be changed, we're all
Yeah,
ears.
yeah. I mean, so, like I said, there's certain things there's things like stretching that's 8%. Like ice bars on here is 2%. Foam rolling's 4%.
Well, it's actually a really fun way to play around to keep you accountable for things that you value.
That's right. And then if you write those things down and then you value them on the sheet, stick it on your fridge every time you walk past. And when you say to yourself, I actually feel like crap, why am I not? And then if you look up and go, oh, that's right. My nutrition is off. I'm not being consistent. I'm not doing the runs every second day or whatever it is.
And that's what we want. We want people to be better by
Yeah.
keeping themselves accountable.
So I mean that's a rough kind of run through our percentage sheet, but yeah, it's there. We've kind of put it together, and hopefully you can get some benefit out of it, because after doing this, it gives me something to focus on and look into. So I was pretty happy that we did that. So I guess we'll move on to some insights. I had
always love this part of the podcast.
yeah, so I had a few insights. So I reached out to a couple athletes, and in terms of percenters and what they do. So there, some of it was like recovery based, but I spoke to Aaron Young, who is an ultra distance athlete in Australia, and recently he went and did the Arizona Monster, which was 300 miles, which is like 480 kilometers, and then a couple of weeks later he backed up and did Cocodona 250 miler. And that's for another 400 kilometers a couple of weeks later. And I wanted to talk to him about what, in percenter terms, what he valued. And for him, what he learned the most from doing those two big events was the percenters in regards to what you can do during your race and how they stack up. So a lot of what he was saying was your efficiency through aid stations, not coming into an aid station, sitting around, talking, taking too long to eat. You just come in, you get what you need and get it done and get back out. Mucking around, cooling down, it just doesn't work. And he found from one event to the other that he had saved hours of time by being more efficient, and those little percenters added up to a better result at the end. And then he spoke about also with his mindset, and it could you can almost have minus percenters, because if you start to focus on things that you can't control, then you end up actually making yourself feel worse about things. So if you're trying to control what the weather's doing, if you're trying to control what other runners are doing, you're actually making your job a lot harder when it comes to doing an event. So he's focused a lot on controlling what he can control, and that's it. So he focused just on that and just being in real, like in life outside of running. He spoke about focusing on the person that he is there and practicing, doing what he wants to do during a race, and translating, his personal life into racing. So, being calmer, being more patient and things like that. And they're the percentages that he got out of that. And it was, I found it really good to see the two sides of how he races and then how he also prepares during, how he prepares his daily life for his racing.
I looked into and found an old Facebook post of Killian Jornet's, and it was an image, and we'll pop it up for viewers who are watching. And what it is, it's a quadrant in a way. So it's got 4 squares there, and it's like a plus. And at the top you have it is what was it? It was so at the bottom it was cheap and the top was expensive, and then on the left hand side it was harm, and then on the right hand side it was beneficial. And so obviously cheap it kind of it described how what cheap things could like anxiety. It was cheap, but it was harmful, and things like rest days that were beneficial, but they were also cheap, so they don't cost. Or there were other technologies where you could have or equipment like the Normatic compression pants, where they were expensive, but they were kind of in the middle, so they weren't harmful, but they weren't super beneficial. And I think one thing he highlighted here was how sleep. There is no food. There is no supplement. There is no piece of equipment that could ever be more beneficial to recovery. So he from this quadrant, it was more about recovery and how you can improve that. Another one was that if we with food, if we train more, we need to eat more. And I think that again, I alluding before, you need to find that balance where you don't eat too much, but you don't eat too little. You got to find that balance with your training, and it varies with different people. If you're running 200 Ks a week, you're gonna have to be eating a lot more. If you're running 15, probably not as much.
Yep.
And then another one was huge was stress management, because there's actual stress hormones that can prevent you from recovering properly. And although it's very hard to be able to just not stress, there are factors that you can implement, like the meditation.
Yeah, you can manage the amount of stress that you have in your life by, decluttering your life and not making it as chaotic.
Even just cleaning your bedroom before you go to sleep, I find it's just the best thing.
I don't think there'd be anyone on the planet that wouldn't feel better having a clean space to sleep in. And,
there's the clutter that just too much.
Yeah. Well, cluttered space, cluttered mind as well. Oh, that's pretty cool insight there. I also reached out to Ryan Crawford, who is a backyard ultra runner, but also just a point-to-point ultra runner as well. And he's a tough dude. I spoke to him about his percenters, and a lot of it was around being like a warrior when it comes to his training. So he used his big percenters were yoga. He's training Muay Thai. Meditation was a big one for him, which is funny because we covered a fair bit of that. But he just tries to galvanize his mind with tough sessions. So he told me about this thing called 1,000 drill, and I'm like, 1,000 drill? It's 1,000 reps. So he'll do, say, push-ups. He'll do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100
this does
100
not
box
sound...
jumps, right? And it's called 1,000 drill, and he does that in his gym at his Muay Thai gym.
Do you know if it's frequent or just once a week? Or?
No, I don't know how often he does it, but it sounded like he does it fairly often. But he also spoke about having a champion mindset, and for him, a champion isn't a person that wins everything. A champion is the type of person that can get up and keep, moving forward. That's and really cool. He's a remarkable athlete. He's so strong, and he has this real David Goggins-esque
persona.
And he's just so mentally strong. I remember one story with him. It was amazing. Like, he is possibly one of the reasons why I finished Down Under for the first time. I remember I was down and out. I was already sold ice cream and Netflix to myself. You had ran out from the aid station. I was 150 kilometers into this race. I didn't want to keep on going. I was absolutely done. And Ryan started jogging past me, and you were next to me. And I said to Ryan, "Oh, how you going?" He kind of slowed up. I'm like, "How you going?" And he's like, in his real Aussie accent, he's like, "Yeah, I'm going all right."
Oh, that's
and I'm
iconic.
like, "Oh, how's the race going?" He goes, I'm gonna effing slay this dragon." And then I looked over at you. You were looking at him like he was God, and then you looked at me, at your dad who's about to quit, and I'm like, I can't quit. I cannot quit. And then so he ended up running off. I ended up getting into the aid station, taking 30 minutes in the aid station, and saying to myself, I cannot quit. My son just watched this absolute beast warrior person just come past and say that he's going to slay this dragon.
I
and,
better slay this dragon.
and then you know what? I ended up catching up to Ryan, and we ended up running for 24 hours together, finishing that race, and it was a really special moment for me.
He actually doesn't. I look at him and I feel like I don't get too many words out of him. But what was the experience like?
Yeah,
in Down
well,
Under?
I mean, we spoke heaps, but you know, Ryan's often a man of few words, but when he does say something, it's pretty profound. So.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon we bring this one across the finish line? Oh,
Yep.
it's been a great,
It's been a really good race, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's been a great race. We've covered a hell of a lot of things, but, you know, people can obviously reach out if they got more questions because there was so much content to cover today and the podcast has gone a little bit longer, but, I mean, I'm glad that we've covered as much as we have. So how did you go this week with my Better By Next Week challenge?
I found it super, super great. And I think I'm going to implement it definitely in the weeks to come.
So what was the challenge for you?
So my challenge was you had set me from Josh Coldray. He had set me a 10-minute mobility, and just to do that preferably in the morning, but I also did it at night. And what I found in the morning, it kind of set the tone of the day. I'm like, right, I'm out here, I'm stretching and it was focused on stretching out the hip flexors, that mobility in there. And that's really crucial for runners, and especially for me, if I want to be more efficient with leg turnover. And at night, what I found is that it almost relaxed me, and I just felt really loose just hopping into bed. And I actually got a better night's sleep, I felt, even though my Garmin might not tell me. But don't listen to your Garmin, listen to yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I had, for you gave me the hopping jump.
Yep.
So I actually found it wasn't as easy as what I thought it was going to be. My balance is not great. So that's one thing I definitely learned.
That's one thing that will develop.
My balance isn't great, but I actually felt, you know, it added a new dynamic to my training. And it gave me something to focus on because I had a little post-it note at work and to make sure that I'd done it for the day. And I'm going to continue doing it. I don't reckon I've got the full effects now. I think 5 or 6 days is probably not enough to get understand how it's going. But I'm going to do it for a month, and I reckon in a month's time I'm going to report back and let you know how I go because I do have ankle problems from rolling my ankles over the years. But I'm going to definitely continue doing it.
You can also I know how I say, so it's like 40 on one side and then 40 on the other. You can also increase that. So you could go 40-40 and then 40-40 and 40-40. So you can do multiple sets in a way. So just to build that up. But for people who were just starting, I kind of just wanted some people just to get the general basis of it.
Yep.
So do you want to go into our challenges for this week?
Yep. I reckon you go first. Let's see what the challenges are.
All right. So my challenge for you this week is what neuroscience actually found was that the first 60 minutes of your day was kind of determined how your motivation system worked. And if you spent that on your phone, it teaches it for low effort, for high hits and stimulation and everything. And I wanted to make it a little bit realistic because I think an hour in the morning is a little bit unrealistic and an hour at night is a little bit unrealistic. So I said for you to do, or my Better By Next Week challenge for you to do is 20 to 30 minutes at the start and end of the day, no screens for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting one to do. But I think it's going to it should be pretty easy for me, and as I'm driving home from work, to do that because I'll just kind of put the phone away. In the morning, it's going to be a good one too.
That's where people find it hard because it's the first thing you look for. It's the first thing that you
I get drawn into it.
Like the alarm is like, okay, you look at the phone, the alarm. But what I'm talking about is the reels straight away.
Yeah, whether it be reels or whether checking the news or checking your emails or anything like that. But just limit it.
It'll really set the tone of your day, and it will just really change that motivation.
Well, I look forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to doing that because I often, that's one of the big things I often say to myself. Don't get on your phone first thing in the morning because I know that the benefits are huge.
Things that you can also implement that if you might find it hard is reading a book or getting up and just going for a little walk. That's the video.
That's a good one. I might just replace my phone with a 15-20 minute walk in the morning. Yeah. All right, cool. So, I'll give that a go, and hopefully our viewers, can give that a crack as well and let us know how they go. So, my Better By Next Week challenge for you is I mean, we spoke about the percenters and sleep. So my Better by Next Week challenge is for you to actually go to sleep 30 minutes, if you can, earlier than what you normally do. 30 to 60, right? Ideally 60, but 30 minutes. And I think that I'm hoping what happens is that you'll see an instant result to how you feel in the mornings. Especially, your training's ramping up, and I know that you've got a couple big weeks coming up. So I'd like you to kind of really focus on trying to get all the stuff that you got to do during the day done, and then go to bed 30 minutes earlier, and just to see whether actually how much of a benefit you find it in the mornings.
Well, I'm excited to see those results, and I might actually write down how I feel in the morning, just a little bit of a journal, and maybe we can recommend that to some viewers if they want to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, so take my challenge and journal
in
it.
the morning.
But
just see how you feel.
also, what I'd like anyone that does have a smartwatch, and in the mornings, because you've already got the data from, say, whatever you've been doing now, but then now if you add 30 minutes to that sleep, I want to see how much your body battery. And I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big advocate for what the watch says and to listen to it all the time, but it does give you some good data on HRV, your body battery, and things like that. So if you do have a smartwatch, write down
So see if it changes.
Yeah, so write it down and then see if there is a change, and then you might be able to look at it and go, you know what, an extra half an hour gave me an extra 10 points on my body battery. That's a 10% boost of 30 minutes.
Yeah,
right.
It's a big percenter.
I guess we'll finish up, and I wanted to leave our listeners with a final thought for the week, and maybe something to focus on as well during the week. And it's all about staying open to opportunities. I had a really cool experience the other day where I was doing some hill repeats, and I was run walking these hill repeats, and I seen another runner come up behind me, and I thought, oh, this is cool. Like, I wonder if he's going to overtake me or what he's going to do. And then I was already thinking, what am I going to say when he's running past me? Because I really don't want to push. I don't want to go hard. So I'm thinking, I'll say, I've been doing a few. Oh no, that sounds a little bit crappy. But so I thought, no, I'm gonna try and run with him, or try and stay out in front of him, and then so he started running behind me. He was about 10 meters behind me, and I'm like, come on, you got to push me. And then we were both kind of pushing, and then we got to the top, and I stayed probably the same distance in front of him all the way. We both went up, and this was like, I was already a couple of hours into my session, so I was pretty cooked. And then I'm like, I got to the top, and I'm like, thanks for the push. That was awesome. And he's like, yeah, no worries. Anyway, I looked this guy up on Strava, and it ended up being a personal best time for him on that actual effort up that hill. And for me, it was the best effort that I'd done of the day as well. And it's like, here was an opportunity, and I thought, you know what? I'll take this opportunity. I can either continue doing what I'm doing, or look at this as an opportunity to be a little bit better. So that was kind of...
Well, that's an awesome note to end it on, and how it reflects our ultra running community.
Yeah, the community's been awesome, and if you can follow, like, and subscribe on all our channels, that'd be fantastic. 50% of our listeners on Spotify haven't subscribed, so leave a review. It really does help us.
Builds up the community.
Builds the community, builds our channel, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Great podcast.